Welcome back, Fantasy Fiction Fanatics. It's great to see you again, and I hope you're doing well. Today's class is going to be on the next set of chapters for Harrow the Ninth, chapters 35 through 41. So I don't know about you guys, but we are definitely still in confusion land, though we are slowly building in these pieces of all the questions that we have and trying to move forward with everything going on. Hopefully, now that we are over the halfway point hurdle, that we will slowly start to figure out exactly what's going on and where the heck we're going with this story, since we've kind of been all over the place. And even now we were kind of building, like last time we were talking about how, we were kind of building a little bit of a storyline that's followable. And then this set of chapters, we still have this kind of bizarre back and forth in the past, and then these two weird chapters at the end that seem to have no idea of what it is that's going on in those last two short little chapters where Abigail is saying that's not how it happens. So it's very, very confusing still. We think we're trying to get out of this mess of confusion, and we're still finding ways to be in it. We're going to really see where Tamsyn is taking us in this journey and where we end up from here. So let's go ahead and discuss these set of chapters and see where we're going. So let's go ahead and start with our recap as always. We are once again in the past in the start of these chapters, and the characters here are building a defense against the sleeper. They're making up plans to defeat it, to trap it, to just being a buddy system. Like Harrow is kind of chided for not taking somebody with her when she's going down where the sleeper is. So they're really trying to make a defense, and teacher specifically states that the sleeper is after Harrow. And then back in the present, we have the lectors that are gathered around to do their plans for the battle, because the resurrection beast is right outside their door. It's about a week until it comes, and they're making preparations for how they're going to fight it and kill it. Harrow is not really involved in any of these plans. She is assumed to be dying in this scenario, in all scenarios really. And so they just are trying to tell her to be out of the way and only help as she can, which they don't think she can at all. And Harrow is slowly being convinced that she might die, or that she is going to die. And this especially happens after Harrow and God have their talk. They are just talking about what's happening with him and why he's getting locked away, and then ends up having the whole secret of Annabelle Lee. Well, I guess that wasn't totally a secret, but God was explaining more about Annabelle Lee, and then the secret that Harrow has about opening the tomb, and they have a whole discussion about the tomb, and God tells her that there's literally no way that she could have rolled back that stone, that it was made impossible unless you were God himself. And then the resurrection beast has arrived, and Harrow is now convinced that she is going to die. And then we have, like I said, those two sections where we have at the end where it kind of seems like it's in the past, and Harrow is somehow training to be a cavalier with Ortis. She's kind of debating with him, but that never happened. So we have the same people that we had in the past, but things seem to be different. It doesn't seem like things are normal. And then we have another different kind of, past that is with Harrow going to this kind of cocktail party or such, and she meets Abigail there, and Abigail tells her this is not how it happens. So we've kind of got some more progression happening throughout this set of chapters. We got more progression, and then these kind of two weird chapters that we had at the end that are just discombobulating a little bit. It's like, why are these thrown in here? What do these represent? What are we trying to get out of this two chapters? And hopefully as we continue forward, we'll understand exactly what those chapters are. Oh, but I did miss, kind of backing up a little bit, after Harrow and God had their talk, we did have that scene where Harrow and Ianthe are doing something to Harrow's brain. Even Ianthe doesn't totally get to see what happened to her brain, like all the changes that she was making, but she was helping her do some kind of manipulation for her brain. So we did have that right before those weird sections that we had going on. So that's where we're at right now. Hopefully you are enjoying the story, enjoying kind of this crazy ride that we're going on, and hopefully we will get to have some kind of direction pointing us somewhere after this. I mean, we at least have the portion with the resurrection beast, but after that happens, obviously we still have quite a bit of story to go, and it will probably be related to Harrow's past friends, if you can really call them friends, but like Camille and the other group, the Blood of Eden or whatever that group was called. We will hopefully understand a little bit more about them and see how they're coming into play. Though it does say that God is about to die, we're going to see if God actually does die or not. Next, let's go ahead and talk about Harrow. So Harrow right now, we kind of have a couple things I want to talk about. So let's go ahead and first talk about her emotions. Harrow is losing herself in a lot of ways, I feel like, at this point in the story. And her current emotions at this point are very unlike the emotions that we had in book 1 versus even what we had at the start of this book. So I really feel like she's in many ways losing herself. Her emotions are just dragging her down, and she has changed herself in some way. So a lot of the sense of who she was before has now been lost because of these changes. She is no longer the confident, I can do anything, I will be better than anybody kind of person. In our first book, where she was convinced that she would become a lector and she would do it first, and she's very calculating, she's, seeing all the locked doors and making that map, like instantly in day 1, has all this work done and is so confident and brave and moving forward. It doesn't matter what anybody else says, and she's also very independent, very much holds herself to a high standard. But now we slowly see her sinking lower and lower and lower through this book, and I feel like right now she's at an all-time low. And the fact that now she no longer even believes that she is going to survive. She has now accepted that she is going to die. She believes that she's insane, like truly, truly insane. And of course, we knew that she thought that earlier because she keeps seeing the body. But at this point now, with like the Cytherea being under her bed, and Ianthe coming and looking and not even seeing her, she is truly feeling like she is rock bottom at this point. She has accepted her death. She doesn't even know who she is at this point. And part of that is also because of God. Because God has now completely ripped up the whole root of her existence in a way. So obviously her parents, killed those 200 kids in order to birth her. But not only that, she opened this tomb, and the fact that she opened this tomb is what leads to her parents committing suicide and their main cavalier, and expecting her to commit suicide. So God has taken that main event in her life and smushed it up into nothing, which making it even more so that she believes that the body is a hallucination that came from an event that didn't even happen, apparently, according to God. And the fact that, her parents then committed suicide for no reason, because the whole reason they did it was because she entered the locked tomb and they found out about that. So if she didn't really enter the tomb and only just thought she did, then they committed suicide for no reason. And she, there's just so much about this whole thing that has now just crumbling and crumbling and crumbling her into dust. She no longer has her connection to Gideon, and Gideon was an important connection for her that has been lost. And she has lost now her reason for, being a ninth person, of guarding that tomb, making sure that nobody opens it, to make sure that it's safe. That, she's no longer the main event in her life that caused her so much distress and so much of a problem and heartache with her parents dying and it being her fault, has now been a pointless death in her viewpoint. It seems now that it is pointless. So she has been broken down and broken down and broken down again and again and again. And now we're seeing her at the lowest point. Even with her whole interactions with Ianthe, it seems that she's very much using Ianthe as a crutch. Instead of standing up on her own, she is leaning on Ianthe. She can't even, master her fear of Ortis, because Ortis blew through all those wards before, and now, she doesn't have as much of a problem with Ortis. But that whole breaking her down, like her self-esteem, that she can't even protect herself, has also crumbled her down to this low, low point. She is really, truly struggling to the point where now she doesn't even believe that she will make it out of this alive. She has, in a way, embraced her death at this point. Next, let's go ahead and talk about her memories. So we're finally getting at least a little bit of some answers on why her memories are so messed up. We did realize from before, because of the letters, that it is likely her own doing. That she contributed her agreement to it. We don't know why, and we still don't know why at this point. However, we do understand now that she actually had the idea herself and wanted to do an operation on herself for her brain in order to change her mind, her memories, or whatever, for whatever reason. We still don't truly understand that reason. We don't know what led to her making this choice, or what this choice really is all about. We don't know that game plan. But we do at least understand now a little bit more on seeing that it was all her doing. She was the one that chose what to do. She obviously picked these memories or whatever it was. However she made these changes, she obviously implanted them in herself. And Ianthe was somebody who is her partner in doing this. For whatever reason, we don't understand why Ianthe and her made this partnership or what Ianthe is getting out of the deal. But we do understand that Ianthe doesn't even totally know exactly what was done. She knew part of it. She helped with the process. She was there when she was doing it. But at some point, she wasn't even allowed to look. It was given up to the skeletons that Harrow made to finish the job or whatever. And we understand now that it was a very dangerous operation, that this was something that could have killed her. And Ianthe herself didn't know if she was going to survive or not to finish on the deal that they made. So it's very interesting to know that Harrow is making this choice herself, that she made these particular changes and that there's some kind of her own plan that she doesn't even want Ianthe to totally know. So what that means or why that's the case, we don't really understand at this point, but at least we've got a little bit more of that piece. We've got a little bit more understanding about the situation. We don't totally get why she would want to forget Gideon or why any of this would be a helpful thing, especially since I doubt she understood that she would see Camilla again if she had talked to Camilla before, because the body or Camilla's person, not her body, Gideon's body and Camilla had been taken before she got a chance to see them, and the Emperor or God did not even know where they were taken. So it seemed like she made these contingencies in case she saw some of these past people, but I don't know if she was expecting to meet them or not. We don't know exactly how this is all going to turn out. But we do understand that this is, we do understand a little bit more fully the picture of at least how this came to happen. Especially since at the beginning we were like, why the heck does she not remember Gideon? Why is everything all over the place? What is happening? And now we get a clear picture of that this is something that Harrow is doing for a particular reason. And she doesn't want anybody else to know even the full extent of what she has done and why. So hopefully we'll soon truly understand the why of it, since that is definitely a big question at this point. Why would she want to reverse or damage her lectorhood in any way? Why would she want to give herself a disadvantage? Why did she not want to have Gideon be a part of her life at this point? And how would she have reacted if she was herself and God had told her that the tomb was not able to be opened? I don't really feel like she would have reacted the way that she had now. Will she even remember all of this once she gets her memories back? If she gets her memories back, of course, we don't know if that'll be the case, but I feel like there has to be some point in time that this change will change back, possibly. Because I say that, because it seems like it's not a permanent change. If it was a permanent change where those memories were completely altered and thrown away, seeing Camilla, seeing Gideon's picture in that spacecraft, having her past being contradicted would not affect her brain the way it is, in my opinion. I'd love to know if you agree with this or if you disagree. But it seems like it's not a permanent change, because if it was a permanent change, her mind would not be rebelling against the changes or the proof that something is wrong with her memories. I feel like then she would find a way to explain it away, thought with her thoughts, instead of having her whole brain turning to mush over and over again and rehealing itself. So I think it's very, very interesting that we are slowly getting kernels of this truth from why she chose to do this. And hopefully we will continue to learn more about why this past Harrow chose to become this new Harrow, who does not seem like she's as strong or as capable as the previous one. Next, let's discuss God, because God is another main element in this set of chapters, and we are learning more about him, and through him we're learning a little bit more about the world, especially the world that he is the god of, so the 9 original planets that Harrow is from. So God is more essential than we thought, and it's in a very interesting way that God is very essential. So God is being protected so much and so thoroughly by these lectors that they would then recruit more lectors, and that they're even locking him up in this room that the resurrection beast could then not get into, because if God dies, then his whole creation, I guess you could say, everyone he originally resurrected and those planets that he brought back to a brilliant life and made into this new universe of possibilities and of people, would all die and fade away. Now, this is very, very interesting to me, because that means that God's essence or God's power or whatever else is directly linked to the life of these planets and these people. If he dies, everything else dies, which means the ability to keep bringing it back and keeping the world alive is directly still connected and still active to God. Even if he's not actively doing anything, even if it's just breathing and living, but still that power is connected to him. It's not like he just created the life or, brought back whatever life was broken from before, and then everything is alive and everything is well, and it's like, he created it and that's that. Instead, that line of life is directly connected to God. And that makes me wonder. In many ways, it makes me really interested to understand what that means for this world. Because they do have babies. They do create new life, and it does continue to bring forth. But it seems like if God were to die and that were to kill everybody, doesn't that just mean that he is kind of reanimating everybody and they're all kind of like not actually alive in a sense? Like, Does that make sense how I'm asking that? It kind of makes it feel like he's still actively animating everybody, even though life is not, just static where they're just zombies that never grow old and just continue to go. I mean, obviously there's still this cycle of life. But it's very interesting that he believes, or that he knows, that if he dies, all of that life will be dead, because that seems like then the only way that they are alive and have that connection to this world is through him, which would then mean he's actively keeping them alive, even if it's not him doing magic or necromancy every moment of the day. It's kind of more like he put a spell over the 9 planets, and that spell will then dissipate once his energy is gone, because it's being fed by his energy. So that's super, super interesting, and I super want to know what that actually means for these people, and why is it that his life then dictates whether the 9 planets are alive, instead of him just, giving them life, and then that being the act of that life being its own thing now. It's very, very, very interesting to me, and it gives a new perspective on this world, a lot of new world building, and that is why he is God, is because without him, life would not exist. And of course, life would not exist without him either way, because he's the one that brought them all back to life. But it's even more so because his actual essence, him being alive, is what allows everybody else to stay alive as well. So super, super interesting on that front. And what does that then mean, which I'm sure we'll find out, if the emperor does die, like it is saying that this is leading up to the emperor's death. If God dies, what happens to the lectors? What happens to everybody on those 9 planets? Do they all die as well? So is this basically a predetermined fate that life for those 9 planets is gone? It's tough to know until obviously we read further, but these are the kind of questions and these are the things that it's bringing forth from these particular chapters, is we're really learning the way the world is working, the way God has created this new world. All of that is really showing us what this world is and the people who are in it, what their lives depend on adding scenario and tension, because it's like, okay, well, if he's gonna die, what does that mean for everybody else? And for Camilla, and the others that are traveling in that spacecraft and they're not with the 9 planets, does that mean that they will die as well, since they are originally from there? Or does it mean that they will be able to continue subsisting as long as they're not on those planets? There's so many questions and so many things that we are continuing to build and to try and understand, even just from this small interaction of him explaining to Harrow why he has to be locked in that room and be protected so thoroughly. Next, let's go ahead and talk about God's connection to Harrow. So I find God's connection with Harrow to be very, very interesting, because it seems like he's very emotionally attached to Harrow, even though he hasn't been with her very long, obviously compared to the other lectors that were before her and Eanth, compared to, how much they're different, because Harrow is not really a normal person. She doesn't have the same kind of interests. She's very singularly her own person. Her own way of dealing with things, her own interactions, her own way of connecting to people, even though I really don't know how well she really connects to people. But God seems to be really connected with her, really, really care about her a lot. He even makes this comment in this discussion that if he had a daughter, he would really like her to be that daughter. Like, he would have loved to have her, and thinks of her as a daughter. Thinks that closely of her and that highly of her. And he's very, very protective of her, even against the other lectors, though Ortis not enough, in my opinion. But like at the very beginning with Mercy Morn, when she was berating her and like being rude to her, he continues to say, no, we need her, no, she's needed, we can't just, throw her away, we can't just release her of this, that she's coming with us. Even though she seems to have no lector ability at this point, that everything is messed up and not going, you know, the way it should, and she's technically, they all think she's gonna die. He is so protective of her and so close to her for whatever reason, really truly believes in her and has this connection with her. He even offers to let her be closed up with him so that way she can survive, because they know that she has no lector abilities, and so they are convinced that the resurrection beast is going to kill her. So God is very, very protective of her and really wants to have this connection with her and to be close to her and express that closeness to her. So it makes me wonder, if she has no lector ability at this point, if she really is just seeming to be dead weight, why doesn't he send her back to the ninth? If she really has no meaning or no abilities at this point, and just is more trouble than it seems like she is worth, why does he insist on her being there? We do understand at the end of book 1, he has this talk about how he really needs lectors and he really asked her to come and be one of his. But it gives me the impression, based on the first couple chapters where he kind of almost mentioned Gideon but didn't, in a way, that he knows that she's done something and knows what her plan is, even if he doesn't truly understand all of it. I feel like God is kind of in the know about what's ever going on, because obviously he knew about Gideon and he's never once mentioned Gideon, not once. No, I mean, she hasn't talked much about her lector in general, or her cavalier in general, but it still makes me wonder if kind of he's knows about it, if he's in on it. I mean, he does understand that before she had that ability when she killed Cytherea. So what is it that makes God so protective of her and want her with him so much? I know that they had that deal where, you know, he would repopulate the 9th planet for her if she was a lector for him. But it seems like if she's this pointless, why is he truly being so protective and so close to her? So really find that relationship and that dynamic between her and him so fascinating, and makes me want to understand truly why he is so connected to Harrow herself. It's just, we're going to have to find out. Maybe it's nothing, but I mean, considering he hasn't been around a very, very long time, you'd think it'd be hard for him to connect and be so protective of somebody who is that much younger than him, that he would be closer, you know, to Mercy Morn or Ortis or one of those, and feel that more of a strong bond there than with Harrow. Though maybe, on the other hand, maybe it is that she is so much younger than him, that is why he connects to her as more of a daughter figure than an equal figure. Last but not least, let's go over our nitty gritty. So I've got a couple things that I found was really interesting in this chapter. Lots of little tiny things here and there that have been mentioned that I found were pretty, you know, stand out. Obviously, I'm not going to mention absolutely all of them, but there's a couple that I really wanted us to think about and to possibly keep in mind as we move forward. And one of the main things is that Ortis has made it kind of clear that it was not his idea to attack her and not his idea to kill her, that somebody else convinced him that he should try and kill her, or that she was a threat or something. At this point, it doesn't seem like he thinks that she's a threat to her, to God anymore, but that was the excuse that he made, and it seems that somebody else has made this thought in him that she needs to be killed, and that she should die, especially before the resurrection beast comes and kills her. So I think that's very, very interesting, and it makes me wonder who exactly is the one that is wanting her dead. Is it someone on the ship now? Is it somebody previously? Is it possibly even God himself? It is tough to say on who exactly has put Ortis up to this, and why have they put Ortis up to this. Hopefully we will understand that, but I think that is an important piece that we should keep in mind moving forward and hunting for that answer. I also think it was very interesting that we had before she was doing her, brain surgery on herself, or whatever it is that she exactly changed about her brain, is that she had one black eye and one gold eye. She did not have that before. We don't know if that's part of, her merging with Gideon. We don't know if that has another meaning, like something happened in between her becoming a lector and her doing that brain surgery. We obviously don't know like what the in-between portions were. So we don't know what led to that transition. But it is very, very interesting to think of that she had one black eye and one gold eye. And why does she no longer have those two colored eyes? That is another question that is left unanswered, and hopefully we will understand what that is. But hopefully we can kind of look forward, and moving forward, we can look for an answer to that question as well, and to kind of understand what that means. And last but not least, Ianthe has this comment during the whole brain surgery thing, like afterwards she was sitting next to her or whatever, where she mentioned something about marrying Harrow at some day. And so it makes me wonder if Ianthe is in love with Harrow. We do know that she almost kissed her, or tried to at least kiss her, on the night that Harrow decided to try and kill Ortis. But Ianthe has never made it seem like she really liked Harrow. And Harrow never picked that up until recently, that they were getting a little bit closer, even though they're still kind of like they're not really getting along, but they're not really not getting along, if that makes sense. So I think it's very interesting that Ianthe was thinking about marrying Harrow in that moment. So is Ianthe in love with Harrow? That is very interesting and adds a very new dynamic to their relationship, in my opinion. Okay, that was all I had for this set of chapters. I know kind of a lot happened in these chapters, but these were the main things that I felt like really stood out and really were what we needed to kind of dig in with today. Hopefully you are enjoying the story, and look forward to the next set of chapters. This book is a lot longer than I anticipated. I didn't really check how many pages it was beforehand since I have it on Kindle. So I'm like, man, we still have a lot of story left to go, and we've already had so much happening and so much that we've had already discussed. So it'll be interesting to see where things go next. Let's go ahead and really quick do the trivia question before we wrap up today. Thank you to everyone who participated. We did have a little bit of a less answers this week, so hopefully in the next week we can have some more of you join us, and more of you will be available to check out the question and give it a try. This week's question was about who reforged Aragorn's sword, and there was a couple different answers I would have taken depending on the context of how you think that question meant. But what I was really looking for was either Rivendell elves or Rivendell blacksmiths, since they are the ones that actually reforge the sword. Though if you did answer Elrond, I would have taken that as well, just since he's the one that decided to have it reforged, so I could see if you took it that way, that would be a correct answer. But I only had one correct person this time. Congratulations to Christian. Get him with the pointy end. Congratulations on getting this one right. I really appreciate everyone who did contribute and play. If you would like to play in next week's trivia question, you're welcome to head over to the blog, fantasyfictionfanatics.net. You can go on the desktop version. It'll be on the right-hand side. You'll just have to scroll down just a little bit in order to see it. If you're on mobile, you'll have to scroll almost all the way down to the bottom in order to see it. But hopefully you guys still enjoy playing with me, and we'll give it a try for next week. While you're over at the blog, you're welcome to check out any of my other content on there. I've got book reviews, book recommendations. I've got different things where I talk about fantasy or books, like a different topic and what I think about those topics. I've got lots of recommendations for film, or I've got a couple anime recommendation posts on there. I've got some more personal posts about myself and my relationship with fantasy writing and fantasy reading, writing tips, lots of different stuff. So if you're looking for more fantasy content that you're not finding here on the channel, you're welcome to check it out over there, and hopefully you'll find some more things that you enjoy. Alright, so that's it for me today. If you'd like to comment or discuss anything that I have talked about today or any other day for Haru or anything, you're welcome to comment down below. You're also welcome to follow me on Twitter for @fantasyfiction1. You are welcome to contact me on there, as well as through Facebook, which is /fantasyfiction1. I do post updates there every time that I make an update, as well as just chatting with you guys sometimes. So if you want to go ahead and follow that, one of those places at least, that would be great to keep yourself up to date. You are also welcome to keep up to date through the Discord. If you head over to the Discord, which the link will be down below, you can get a hold of me, as well as your fellow fantasy fanatics who are several of them are already over there chatting and having a great time. We talk about fantasy as well as non-fantasy related topics. We talk about lots of books, movies, anything at all. We talk about things from the channel, talk about our favorite fantasy books, movies, etc. For anything. We just have a nice fun place to chat and get to know each other and share our love of fantasy with each other. So hopefully if that sounds fun to you, you will join us. We would love to have you and be able to discuss things with you. And I guess that's it for me today, and I will see you guys in the next class. Bye!